Hey, you! Everybody, welcome to Katai Pite. Today we're taking a trip down memory lane to explore how life looked before technology took over. Remember when you couldn't just Google something on your phone? You had to use your brain or ask another human being? So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive deep into the world of rotary phones, encyclopedias, and life before the internet. All right, picture this. You're about to embark on a grand road trip. No GPS, no Google Maps, just you, a trusty map the size of a small car, and a whole lot of hope. Back in my day, we didn't have fancy navigation systems telling us every turn to take. You had to unfold this massive map and try to make sense of all those lines, squiggles, and tiny little symbols. Getting lost was practically a rite of passage. You'd think you're going the right way, only to realize you're heading in the complete opposite direction. You had to rely on your instincts, your sense of direction, or maybe just stop and ask a local for help. And sometimes those wrong turns led you to the most unexpected and amazing discoveries. Map reading was a real skill, my friends. It was a test of patience, a lesson in geography, and a guaranteed way to create some hilarious road trip stories. Okay, so you need information, right? Like, what's the capital of Burkina Faso, or who invented the sport? Before Google, we had these magical things called encyclopedias. Remember those massive books, usually like a whole set of them, lined up proudly on bookshelves? They were like the internet's wise old grandfather, filled with knowledge on just about every topic imaginable. If you wanted to learn something, you had to actually, put in some effort. You'd flip through those pages, scanning for the right volume, then the right section, and finally the answer you were looking for. No pop-up ads, no endless scrolling, just pure, unadulterated information. Okay, let's talk communication, people. Forget instant messages, DMs, and texting. Back in the day, if you wanted to reach out to someone, you had to write a letter. Like with a pen and paper. Can you imagine the horror? You'd sit down with your finest stationery, pour your heart out on those lines, and then you'd wait. Because sending a letter was like sending a message in a bottle. You never knew exactly when or even if it would reach its destination, but you know what made it so special, the anticipation. Receiving a handwritten letter was like finding a hidden treasure. It was a slower, more deliberate way of communicating, and honestly, sometimes I miss it. The world could use a little more penmanship and a little less screen time, don't you think? All right, movie buffs, gather round. Before Netflix and chill, there was Blockbuster night. And let me tell you, it was an event. Remember the excitement of browsing the aisles, trying to decide between the latest releases and those classic movies you'd watched a million times. And don't even get me started on the pressure of rewinding those tapes before returning them. Seriously, forgetting to rewind was like committing a cardinal sin. But there was something so satisfying about holding that physical copy in your hands, popping it into the player and settling in for a night of cinematic bliss. Okay, remember those things called cords? No, not the ones you wear, the ones attached to your phone. That's right, folks. We used to be tethered to the wall by these magical wires that allowed us to talk to other human beings. It was a simpler time, a time when you couldn't just take your phone with you everywhere you went. If you wanted to make a call, you had to find the nearest landline, untangle the cord, which was always tangled, and hope the person you were calling was actually home. And the best part, no caller ID. You never knew who was on the other end of the line until you picked up that receiver. It was like a surprise every time. All right, music lovers, let's take it back to a time before Spotify playlists and instant music streaming. Back in my day, we had these things called cassette tapes and CDs. Making a mixtape was an art form, my friends. You'd spend hours huddled over your boombox, meticulously queuing up the perfect songs, recording them off the radio, and hoping you didn't accidentally cut off the ending of your favorite jam. It was a labor of love, a personalized gift that said, hey, I made you this awesome playlist just because. And CDs? Don't even get me started on the joy of ripping open a brand new CD, carefully placing it in your Discman. Remember those? And rocking out to your favorite tunes. Music just hit different back then. Okay, selfie queens and Instagram influencers, listen up! Before smartphones became our personal photo studios, we had these things called film cameras. You know, those clunky contraptions with actual film inside. Yeah, those were the days. Taking a picture was a big deal back then. You couldn't just snap 100 selfies and choose the best one? Nope, you had to carefully frame your shot, wind the film and hope for the best. And then came the agonizing wait to get your pictures developed. You'd drop off your film at the store and pray that at least some of your shots turned out. But you know what? There was something so special about those printed photos. Each one was a tangible memory, a little snapshot in time. All right, gamers and screen addicts, gather round. Before Fortnite, Minecraft, and the endless scroll of social media, there was this magical place called the outdoors. I know, crazy, right? Back in my day, kids actually went outside to play. We'd spend hours building forts, climbing trees, riding bikes, and just running around like wild things. We'd invent our own games, explore our neighborhoods, and come home with scraped knees, muddy clothes, and the biggest smiles on our faces. There was something so freeing about not being glued to a screen, about using our imaginations and just enjoying the simple pleasures of being a kid. Okay, foodies, let's talk about cooking. Before tasty videos, food bloggers, and online recipe databases, we had these things called cookbooks. Remember those? They were like culinary Bibles, passed down through generations, filled with handwritten recipes, secret ingredients, and the comforting aroma of Grandma's kitchen. Finding a recipe was an adventure in itself. You'd flip through those pages, stained with batter and spices, deciphering handwritten notes in the margins, and hoping you could recreate those culinary masterpieces. There was something so satisfying about following a recipe from a cookbook, about measuring out ingredients, mixing, stirring, and creating something delicious from scratch. All right, jet setters and travel enthusiasts, let's take it back to a time before Instagram stories, travel blogs, and those perfectly curated vacation pics. Back in my day, if you wanted to share your travel adventures, you sent postcards. Remember those little rectangular pieces of cardboard adorned with scenic views, cheesy slogans, and a tiny little space to squeeze in a few words? You'd pick them up at souvenir shops, scribble a quick "wish you were here" message on the back, and drop them in the mailbox. It was a simple way to stay connected, to share your experiences, and to let your loved ones know you were thinking of them. And receiving a postcard was like getting a little piece of someone's journey, a tangible reminder of their adventures. So these were just a few things people used to do before technology changed our lives forever. It's crazy how much things have transformed. Which one of these would you want to try, or which do you remember? Do you miss those days? Or are you happy living in the future? Let us know in the comments. And hey, while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to Katai Pite for more awesome throwbacks. And I'll see you next time.